I was born in 1947, 2 years after the war, and that means I am more or less of the same age as my country, the Federal Republic of Germany, and its constitution, 1949. And that means for 7 decades now, I have been following the ups and downs of my country with open mind, open eyes, open heart. My childhood and also my youth were overshadowed by the German guilt and consequently the German shame. Of course, I had nothing personally to do with it, but the generation of my parents and the one of my grandparents surely did. And when, as a teenager, I began to travel to Western European countries, that was in the early 60s, and I always had a problem having to say that I was German, because then people reacted to that with reticence, to say the least. And I felt very much ashamed about it. That changed in the years, the decades to follow, not least to the great upheavals after 1968, in which we as a country were able to face our guilt and to build a true democracy, not least with the help of our wonderful constitution. And when I then traveled the next 20 or 30 years through foreign countries, and I said that I was German, people reacted to that with respect. And I tell you that for my generation was a wonderful experience. And it remained like that for some 30 years until the early 2000s, in which a new legislation in my country legalized prostitution. And the result was terrible. Germany became the one market for prostitution in Europe. And the rights of women were daily treated badly. And you can see that I'm missing the words to describe to you what was being done daily to thousands and thousands of women in my country. And there it was again, my feeling of shame that I had known when I was young. But this time I thought, I was in my 50s now, so I thought, this is for the young generations of women now to fight against. Until only 2 years ago, I was invited by a friend of mine to a birthday party, and I happened to be sitting the evening in a restaurant with 2 young women. All of them could have been my daughters, if not my granddaughters, and they told me about their commitment, their fight against prostitution. And as I went home the next day on a long train journey, I said to myself, no, Britta, you're wrong. This is so important, so terrible. You have to get out of your cozy corner and you have to get moving again. And it was clear for me right from the start that I would have to go to the constitutional court of my country, because the first article of the German constitution says the dignity of a human being is inviolable. And that prostitution violates the dignity, and not only the dignity of a human being per se, is so obvious to me that I wondered that nobody before me had got that idea and had gone to the Constitutional Court. That's the whole story. I found a young woman lawyer. She handed in the complaint for me a few weeks ago, and now we are waiting for the response. And, as I always say, I'm 75 now. I want to see the law changed. I want to see that these women, the dignity of these women is no longer violated, that they are no longer treated as badly as they are. That once again, I can leave the shame of what is being done in my country, in my name, on the basis of my laws and my constitution, to other women.